I have the keys to this 1983 911 Carrera Cabriolet Turbo Look, which was owned by Peter Schutz, CEO of Porsche, when this car was brand new in Germany. I'll be driving it and giving you my impressions.
Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video.
Porsche introduced the new 3.2-liter 911 Carrera for the 1984 model year in the US, but in Germany, customers could buy it a bit earlier. This 1983 Carrera Cabriolet is not a normal production car, however. It's a pre-production model built by the factory for Porsche's CEO at the time, Peter Schutz. A normal Turbo Look 911, identified as having option M491, will usually command a premium over a regular 3.2-liter Carrera. A 1987 example sold the day I recorded this voiceover for a bit less than $100,000. But this one is a pre-production model owned by the Porsche CEO who saved the 911 model line. Not only does it have desirable provenance, but it's also highly optioned and painted in a color that I once thought had only been used on a run of 1988 944 Turbo S's, Silver Rose Metallic. With all of that in mind, a car like this one would likely bring an even larger premium than a normal Turbo Look. We'd be surprised if Schutz's old Carrera Cab didn't sell for well over six figures if it ever entered the market. In the US, early Carrera 3.2s had 207 horsepower, but this rest of world model has 228 naturally aspirated horsepower. This era of 911 is one of the most loved because it combined classic air-cooled style with modern technology like electronic fuel injection. 3.2-liter Carreras are known to be very durable, super reliable, and fairly easy to work on. Weighing 2,668 pounds, according to Porsche, this Turbo Look is quick, though not quite as quick as the turbo from which its bodywork was borrowed. Not all Turbo Looks had the turbo T-tray tail, as Porsche offered buyers a wing-to-lead option, like this one has. In addition to the bodywork, option M491 also included the turbo suspension and 4-piston brakes front and rear. Inside, this particular example has a full leather interior in cassis red paired with the excellent sport seats. Interestingly, faux suede is used liberally throughout the interior, something that wouldn't become a trend until nearly 2 decades later with the introduction of the 996 GT3.
So we are in the 83 Carrera Cabriolet Turbo Look. All right, so this car was owned by Peter Schutz, CEO of Porsche. It was built specially for him. So first off, I just came from a 901 gearbox 911S 2.2 Targa from 1971. That had a dogleg gearbox with first down and to the left. This one has a regular 5-speed that we're used to nowadays. But yeah, more on this car. So Peter Schutz, CEO of Porsche, kept the 911 alive instead of axing it, and the 911 Carrera was the car that, so he had the 911 SC, then the 911 Carrera was the 911 that he ended up saving way back in the early 80s before Porsche could axe it and replace it with the 928. It was a brand new Carrera. I believe it's 231 horsepower engine here in Europe instead of 217. Those are the rest of world cars. And wow, what a nice gearbox and engine here. Yeah, nice solid gearbox. Definitely feels better than the 901 in this case. But yeah, so Peter Schutz saved the car, got one for himself, and then optioned it to the teeth. We have some suede, it looks like, basically Alcantara. You'll notice we have this early, Porsche Classic digital radio now, so that's a nice little touch that isn't vintage, but looks vintage. We have these leather sport seats, leather everywhere in this car. Looks like on the dashboard. I even think, no, that was a different car. Yeah, this car is optioned to the teeth, that's for sure. Now, I love sport seats, these early ones. They really bolster you in well. And the steering in this car, surprisingly, I didn't think it was gonna come close, quite as close to the 911S 2.2 that I drove earlier, but it does. Overall, this car feels a little more solid, actually. You know, stiffer suspension, they changed how they approached that a little bit on the 911 as the years went on, made it a little bit sportier, a little bit less body lean. Yep. Brakes feel very nice. These are floor hinge pedals, so that's something to keep in mind with this car. Something to note about this is kind of funny, is that my feet, at least in these shoes, are slightly too big. They hit the top of the firewall somewhere or something. Maybe it's the steering column, or there's something down there that my foot hits when I press the clutch down. So maybe I should have worn smaller shoes. But the clutch is easy to modulate. The gearbox seems to be, the 915 seems to be set up very nice in this car. The throttle pedal, I drove this the other day just to park it somewhere, and the throttle pedal is a bit too light in this car, and I think the throttle return spring is maybe a little worn out. Something the Porsche tech told me was probably the case when I asked about it. But once you're moving, you let the clutch out, and then once that clutch is out, you can get on the gas a little bit, kind of like a Carrera GT. Just let the torque of the engine do the work at first. Yeah, what a nice day here. Fairly easy to shift. The big thing for me, and let me get on the gas a little bit here. Yeah, this is a quick car. Had a little backfire there. Have some deers running across the road. Probably scared of that backfire. That's something I got to be careful out here actually right now, is we are on a back road in Germany, and we have deer running around. So yeah, very nice steering. These seats are great. The 231 horsepower in this 911 Carrera, I'm not quite sure how it compares to the 217 because it's been a while since I've driven a US-based Carrera, but the engine is strong. It seems to like to rev. Now, by this time, I believe this car had electronic fuel injection upgraded from the old CIS, continuous injection system, of the 911 SC. All right, and our turnaround point is right up here. Yeah, this car overall feels much more luxurious and posh compared to that old 911S that I drove a little bit earlier. And of course it is. It's this car seemed like it was optioned out for maybe commuting or being comfortable on a long drive. Almost stole it because that gas pedal, but let out that clutch. I don't want to be too loud in this neighborhood. It's still pretty early out here. Yeah, a little bit of understeer you feel as you head into the turn. That's because, you know, 911 is rear engine, rear wheel drive, and doesn't have a lot of weight on the front end. So especially in air-cooled 911s, you have this sensation of you head into a turn, and it'll understeer a little bit. You get on the gas, it'll probably understeer a little bit more. You lift, it'll oversteer. So what this car really likes to do is to be braked into a turn. So you're on the brakes and you trail out, and it really gets that front end to dig. Now, I'm probably not gonna be able to do that at all on this drive because it's, I am not comfortable doing that in this car. Wow, it is bright. Woo! Got that sun right in my eyes. Holy crap. Wow. Woo! That was a little scary at first. Jeez. Yeah, just go into that fog bank right there. heel toe in this car. The gas pedal's a little bit too high, and it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like the harder you brake, it's going to get much easier to do heel toe. Unlike the 911S, which had perfect heel toe pedals. Wow, it is foggy out here, and that sun just glints right off of it. Yeah, easy to upshift though. I got a heel toe down there, but it was tough. I had to get kind of stretch my foot over it. Yeah, this is a nice car. And I like the balance, even though this is a turbo look, and part of that understeer in the corners is probably because we've got the turbo look wide body with more grip in the rear, but no turbo motor to overcome that grip. And of course, you got more tire, and the car is going to want to grip in the rear more and push that front end out. But overall, I think this car just feels very nice and tighter than the earlier 911s that came before it. Now, mid-year 911s are ones, the 74 to 77, I don't believe I've ever driven one, so I hope to compare sometime to see what Porsche's progression was from the early long hood era to this 84 Carrera. So I can definitely feel that this 84 Carrera is very much like a 911 SC in a lot of ways. Same transmission. This just has more power and likely more refinement that if I drove them back to back, it would probably be a little bit easier to tell what that refinement would be. Yeah, what a car. And to think that Peter Schutz, the CEO of Porsche in the 80s, was the guy who owned this and drove this back in the day. It's a privilege to be able to drive this. It's probably the only time I'll ever get to drive it. So I'm taking this one in for sure. Of course, you might be wondering why this car, I'm driving this car, it being a car with such provenance and history, and that's because this is the Porsche Museum's car. And for this heritage experience that we're on right now, I'm on this trip to experience every generation of 911 and to experience Germany's cultural heritage over a couple days, and we've managed to fit in some one-mile reviews. And this is one of those cars that we're driving that represents the 1980s. Yep. Very tough clutch. When you're going uphill, it's a little harder to just let the clutch out. Yeah, I'm going to give this bicyclist a little bit of time because my turn is right here. I think they're going to want us to back these cars in, so that is what we're going to do. All right, and we'll turn this car off and I'll give you my ratings for it. So first off, car show. This is a silver rose metallic, I believe is what Porsche had in their press material, a silver rose metallic 911 Carrera. And if you know your history, 911 Carreras didn't come in silver rose metallic. In fact, the only car that did officially was the 944 Turbo S of 1988. And that was only the first, I believe, several hundred models. They did a run of 88 Turbo S's with different colors, but silver rose metallic, here we are. I guess if you're the CEO, you can paint your car in any color. So immediately, if somebody comes up to this car, they see turbo look, they see silver rose metallic, that is a conversation starter right there, and great for a car show. Add in the fact that this was Porsche CEO's car, and we'll factor that into this car show rating. And yeah, this is easily a really cool car for especially the Porsche geek, but really anybody. I'm going to give this a 9.25 for a car show because of its provenance, because of its unusual color, because of its high options, and because it's a turbo look. For daily driving, it's a cabriolet, maybe a little tougher than a Targa or a coupe to daily drive, but you know, in certain locations you could definitely do it. It drives really easily, and I think back in the 80s, a lot of people did buy these to daily drive, especially in maybe Southern California, places like that. But that being said, it being a cabriolet in most places, probably not a daily driver, probably not a winter driver, especially nowadays. Just thinking that not even thinking about the fact that this is a former Porsche CEO's Porsche, you probably wouldn't want to daily drive this. But you could do it. I'm going to give this one a 6.75, a little bit less than maybe a coupe would get, which maybe that would be more of a 7.5 to 8 for an older car like this. But I'm going to give this a 6.75 for daily driving. For road trip, perfect road trip car. Once again, you have storage in the front and behind these seats. And of course, you can put the top down, and once you're at your destination, you can drive those back roads and have a ton of fun. So road trip, this will do better for sure. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 for road trip. Fun factor, this is a car I would love to get to know a bit more to drive. The brake pedal positioning is a little bit odd, so that maybe detracts a little bit because it's a little tougher to do heel toe. But otherwise, easy car to drive, nice shifter, very solid 915 transmission. That's well set up. I've driven some 915s that are not well set up. And yeah, they are not the best cars to drive. Looks like I pulled this out at some point. Make sure that we're still getting the sound there. So yeah, fun factor, I would say on a twisty road, I saw some of the other journalists that are on this trip driving it and having a ton of fun, driving it quickly. And I was surprised at how compliant and easy to drive it seemed. Now I know it works with you for sure through the turn and out of the turn. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10 for fun factor. Not quite as fun as some other air-cooled 911s I've driven before, and having just come out of a 71 911S 2.2, which I gave, I believe, an 8.5 for fun factor. That was a little bit more fun to drive. So that's my comparison, at least for today. So 8 out of 10 for fun factor. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the content we produce on this channel, please subscribe. It helps us out. It helps direct where our content goes, and make sure that we're producing content that you like to see. Until next time, see you later.